We're going to talk a little bit first about what you did when I led the case study with you all, and then I'll ask some questions about you leading the sixth graders and kind of turn the tables a little bit there. Have you ever been involved in a case study like that before, or in a discussion like that before, with school or outside of school?
Yeah.
I've done like ethical discussions before in like a more formal setting, but
Okay.
yeah, so similar things, I guess.
Okay. Where'd you do those at?
At OA, which I went to last semester.
Okay.
Outdoor Academy.
Okay. Nan?
Just in general, I think in the middle school, definitely we had those discussions during advisings and
Okay.
very often.
Yeah.
Good. Was it structured? Was it kind of loose? Was it kind of open-ended, or how was it?
Mine was kind of structured. Like we did it before sixth grade. We did it in fifth grade, so we like know what we're getting into in sixth grade, I
Okay.
guess.
Okay.
So it was really structured, though. I did like it.
Good, good. And not to put anyone on the spot, have you ever been involved in an incident like the case study we discussed, or heard about that at all at any point in middle school or high school? So is that kind of a new thing?
Heard about
I
it.
don't think so.
Heard about it? Okay.
I think a lot of like, you mean like a real life dilemma
Mhm.
similar to that?
Yeah.
I mean, things like that do happen, so
Okay.
definitely.
The topic we discussed was truth versus loyalty and kind of weighing those priorities. Do you think that was a relevant topic to upper school students and to middle school students?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
we have an honor code, so.
Okay. Give me some examples.
Especially with friendships, that's basically all of high school.
Okay.
Just building friendships with, other people that you don't really know, and wanting to keep that is something that you don't want to lose.
Okay. At any point in the discussion, did you weigh one more for truth is more important, loyalty is more important, or was that still a challenge to weigh which one is more important?
That was a challenge.
Okay.
I always went back and forth.
I tried to keep it equal, but it's like hard because everyone has their own opinions on that.
Okay. So what kind of outside factors make that truth versus loyalty so difficult for teenagers to get around?
Your friends, friendships, and
Yeah, you want to be loyal.
yeah,
but then
Okay.
your reputation.
Yeah,
Social
reputation.
security, like.
There's a lot
I don't
of
mean-
pros and cons to like both things. So.
Okay. Gotcha. One thing we didn't discuss is the resources that are available to you as students when you're faced with that kind of dilemma. We didn't talk about, can you talk to a friend? Can you talk to parents, a teacher, or maybe a guidance counselor? Is that something that you would utilize, talking to someone else like that, whether it's another peer or an adult?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think I would.
I think
Yeah.
you definitely need someone who you can talk to whenever you're in a tough decision.
Okay.
Especially here at GDS, where it's very open and
Yeah.
friendly, and you're not scared to talk to teachers.
Okay.
So I think that's
So who would you feel most comfortable talking to in the situation we discussed?
Miss Quinlan. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
gonna
gonna
say
say
that.
that
I don't know.
too.
She's just so easy to talk to.
Yeah.
Okay.
probably my advisor.
My
Okay.
advisor too.
Yeah.
Good. Do y'all feel like you have at least one person to talk to?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Good. Do you think that's normal for teenagers?
Yeah, at least one.
Yes, I hear yes
I
and
hope
no.
it
Yeah.
should. It depends on the person.
I think everyone should
Yeah,
have
should
at least
have
someone to
one.
talk to. Like,
Okay.
probably here, but I don't know, maybe other schools, they just kind of
yeah, that's
might
true.
feel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So what kind of factors, as we went through the case study and you were trying to make decisions on what you would do, what kind of factors influence your decision, such as the honor code, peer pressure, whatever else? What was weighing on your mind when you're deciding what to do in that case study?
Probably consequences. If you think about the honor code, what could happen?
Okay. What else?
Like betraying your friend, that was tough.
Okay.
Like that was a consequence. You might lose your friend.
Okay.
Your image afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. How so?
Kind of like just in general, you don't want to be. I remember during the case study we were talking about how if people could trust the person now, whether or not they had cheated or not, and so.
Okay.
Just
And he
the
like
idea.
started out, and Steven started out as like a really popular guy, and like on the baseball team, I think. And like it's just like what would happen if like people start like saying cheating, it's gonna become like more socially acceptable. So
Okay.
like overall, it's gonna have a really big impact on your grade.
So you're worried about his reputation, but yours as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Good. Kind of switching gears a little bit, what other topics do you think would be important to discuss for upper school students and middle school students, in addition to truth versus loyalty? What other kind of things do you all see or do you hear about from your peers?
Making good choices, I guess. Something has to do with
Make-
that.
Such as?
Deciding like what you should do and shouldn't do. For instance, like if you go to a party or something, what you should or shouldn't do.
Okay.
And the
So maybe more social type issues?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Okay. Stuff that isn't related to school? Okay. What are some other examples you'd like to discuss or that you see?
Maybe like bullying sometimes.
Yeah, I was
I
thinking, you know, you can,
Oh,
sorry.
do you go?
No, you can go
Seriously,
first.
go.
Okay. Like the first thing I think of when I think of school, or sometimes is you think of friends, and then you think of like cliques and things.
Okay.
So when you think of that, you can think of like excluding people and like what she said, bullying.
Okay.
So I think that's a good topic too.
There seems to be a lot of discussion right now in the media and in general with schools with bullying. It is a really, really big topic.
Yeah.
Is that something that's addressed here or not? Is it a problem
I
here?
don't think we really have that much bullying.
I feel like it's more like cyberbullying. I don't think it's more like we think of bullying, not like, you know, give
It's
me
not.
lunch money type thing. It's more like
that is still bullying, though, for sure.
Yeah.
It's
like
not
a
doesn't really
major
I
like
don't
problem
feel
in
like
high
it's
school.
pushing
It's
and
more
shoving
like
somebody or
social
like
media.
It's not what you see in movies where, you know, you see the
Exactly.
big jock guy pushing a kid up against a locker. It's more like friendship bullying
Okay.
as well as just like peer pressure and
And then
Oh,
like
yeah.
verbal kind of sometimes.
Like rumors and just
Oh, yeah.
more discreet things.
Is that something that you all see, maybe not necessarily at school, but do you see that at school or maybe on teams and such things outside?
yeah,
of this?
definitely.
yeah.
Okay. Is it being addressed?
Sometimes, just
Yeah,
like
not really.
some people
Not
choose
really.
not to because maybe they're like scared. But I mean,
Scared
it
of
just
what?
depends on the situation, or they're scared that like a bystander of that, or is probably scared that they'll probably get like bullied or their rep will go down or something.
Okay.
I think a lot of people have kind of accepted it as like just a part of high school, like something you may have to go through a few times, so, especially on like a team, like initiation and stuff like that.
Okay. So bullying is initiation?
Not
That
something.
comes up.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all we're trying to, let's talk about other topics that we can discuss. That's kind of the point of this interview and these questions. And what other things are important to teenagers that we can discuss? And maybe that's one of them. So is this type of discussion that we had, that roundtable small group discussion, is that something that you would encourage other classmates and other peers to participate in?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it'd be easier with like two people though, because that way you can feed off of each other.
Two people.
leaders.
Like two leaders. Sorry.
Two leaders?
Yeah.
Okay. So having two people lead the discussion.
Yeah.
Was the group size a good size?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Back to your questions, two leaders. Who do you think should be leading those discussions?
Should like
People
students
older.
like us again, like maybe doing it to younger students again.
Okay,
And I think two would be helpful because if like one person runs out of stuff to say, the other one can help them. You know?
okay. Well, let's talk first about, the high school students, then we'll get into the middle school students. When we're looking at what grade level do you want to implement this program? So for the juniors and the seniors, who should be teaching these discussions? Or who should be leading these discussions for the high schoolers? Teachers, parents, outside
I
people?
don't think they'd respond all that well to like people in their grade leading
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
I find
everyone
that
in what I know.
I think an older individual would be ideal.
I'd say teachers.
But like not too old so that you can't relate or anything.
Okay. Hope I'm not too old.
You know.
Played by ego, thank you, appreciate that. Okay. Okay, so we'll get back to your question too about maybe high schoolers leading middle schoolers and younger grades. We'll get to that in just a minute. Did this discussion change the way you think about ethics or about decision making at all?
I don't know if it changed the way I thought about it, but definitely opened my eyes up to the bigger picture.
Okay.
I always knew, the good and the bad and, what you should do, but just seeing it all in a different situation, I think helped.
When you say bigger picture, what do you mean?
Like thinking about more consequences and, thinking about everybody else as well as yourself and,
Okay.
Finding a nice compromise as well, I think is one thing that we did. Like we kind of found a good middle ground where we tried to address as many of those issues as possible.
Okay.
I feel like
It's hard to find the perfect answer.
it is.
Yeah, there really isn't one in some of these cases, so find the best solution, okay? So kind of your question, at what grade do you think we should start having these discussions with students?
about 6th grade.
Yeah.
Sixth grade's good.
I don't know, because the sixth grade, I kind of had trouble, in my group, I don't know about y'all's, but in my group, they kind of had trouble, discussing, actually. Like, I had to push a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I did a lot.
It's true because like sometimes they don't know what to say, or they might not take it as seriously because they might not really care at the time.
Okay,
So I think 7th or 8th grade maybe,
okay.
but
I
because
feel
they
like
kind of
Still
understand.
people
it.
have
Try to
older kids
discuss
too
it.
sometimes.
I feel being able to talk to them about it, but maybe not the conversation aspect of that. Maybe the conversation would be in the older grades, but putting it out there for them to think about it would be
Oh,
good
yeah.
in 6th grade.
Just structure it differently for younger kids.
Yeah.
8th grade's good too, because then you're going up to high school, so it's that whole new
Yeah.
ball
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
Did it feel like the sixth graders, did it feel like more like you're teaching them rather than having discussion?
Yeah.
In my group, I
Yeah.
felt like I was having discussion.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
All of my sixth graders thought that there was only one right answer. and
Yeah,
I
they kept
didn't-
asking me that.
I
They're
had
like,
to
is there an
keep trying to
answer?
tell
I was
them
like,
that there
no.
was like no correct answer, and like one just kept saying that like not to cheat, you know. So,
Yeah.
They kind of answer with things fed to them. They don't really think about, take it seriously, kind of know what they would actually do
Yeah.
in that
One of them would
situation.
say something and they'd all agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we are.
Gotcha, good.
No,
Well, and I want to keep asking about the middle schoolers too, because that's a really important part. The last thing for kind of this group and how we had our discussion, was it beneficial having students from different grades in the discussion? Because I know we had some freshmen, sophomores, and juniors.
I like
Was that good,
definitely.
not good?
I
Different
think so,
age,
just
different opinions.
experiences.
Yeah,
Okay.
you need a variety of people.
Okay. Do you think that there would ever be a case where freshmen in the same group as seniors might feel not comfortable talking as much? Or vice versa?
I mean, I guess it depends on the person.
Depends on the
Definitely
person.
depends.
Personally, I wouldn't
I
mind.
think that could happen, but I liked how there was like freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. So.
Okay, okay.
I think it also helps, like, if you match up different grades, it also helps you, like, the students themselves expand the parameters on, like, people they know.
Yeah.
Okay. Does the topic make a difference as far as what we're discussing? Is it relevant from the freshmen to seniors all the way through?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. Okay. So kind of more to when you all were the facilitators. First of all, how was that? Fun, challenging? What was it?
Fun.
I felt like it was challenging at times
It was a little tough.
Okay.
when they didn't say anything.
Okay. So what was challenging about it?
Getting them all quiet.
Okay.
And
You might
talk
as
at
well
once.
It was last class
Or
of the
like-
day. They were excited
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, when they would, or
Yeah.
say they just, you would ask them something, and of course they would be like, my kid kept saying, is there a right answer? And I'd be like, no, not really, but
Yeah.
I just kind of like try to facilitate, but they'd all like agree with each other, and it was
Okay.
like,
Gosh, mine, they just kind of get off topic, and it'd be
Yeah.
hard to bring back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When it came to asking questions, it's a practice skill to learn how to ask open-ended questions. Was that something that came easily to you, or did you feel like you were kind of leading them a
It
little
was
bit?
challenging because you really don't like do that like on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
it was-
I mean, I felt with some of the questions it was easier than other questions.
Okay. Okay.
So,
What kind of questions, if you recall, I know it was several weeks ago, but were there certain questions that really kind of got them going or got them talking? Was it kind of hit or miss?
If you kind of relate it to them, I mean, the situation, they knew about the situation, but if I put like their specific name, like them specifically, in the place of the people, they kind of started thinking more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did ask like, who's your best friend?
Okay. So rather than making a black and white obscure case study, making it about that individual?
Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
relatable.
Okay. What was fun about it, leading that group?
I like getting like the
interacting
feedback.
with them.
Oh yeah.
I think the different like experiences and different like answers of the younger students was interesting to hear.
Okay. Did they have any responses that surprised you? Good or bad?
Like in my group, for instance, there was like one kid who would always come up with these good things, but the other kids were just kind of silent for the most part. So
There was one person in my group who really surprised me. She was just like, I wouldn't let them cheat, you know, and like she didn't even think about her friends, you know, so that really surprised me.
Okay. Did you find that sometimes in small groups, there's one person that stands out and kind of dominates the discussion?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. What do you think that is? Is that sixth graders? Is that just kind of group dynamics, or any way around that at all?
Someone usually just kind of,
Yeah.
I guess one person just decides to start the conversation, and then once they get going, I guess they just keep going.
It's like the leader of the group, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay's that way too.
But
Aside
also
from,
like
you know,
it also like influences like the others though. Like I had this one kid who starts talking and then they all start like cooperating too.
Okay.
So like we're all working together.
Okay. Do you think that would be an issue with upper school students? If one person kind of dominates the conversation, or not really?
It would probably be a little more spread
Yeah.
out.
probably wouldn't happen as much in upper school.
Okay.
People have found their voice to a certain extent.
Okay. That's good. Do you think the sixth graders grasp the complexity of the dilemma? Because as we talk, there's a lot of different pros and cons and decisions. Do you think they got that?
Probably
I'm
not.
sure.
Not completely.
not fully, but
Like the easy answer is like, yeah, of course I wouldn't cheat.
Yeah.
But like if you were seriously like in that position and your friend like wasn't gonna go, like just he couldn't graduate or something, like it's a much harder situation.
Okay.
So I feel like they're just looking at it like a little bit more like on the surface,
And there's-
which is
and
fine.
there's-
You know, they're sixth
Like
graders.
there's a whole spectrum of maturity. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
you just kind of have to find the average level of maturity and play off of that. And I think sixth graders can handle a certain level of depth.
Okay.
in my opinion.
Do you think if we change the case study so the consequences are a little bit different as far as summer school and baseball camp, would that change the discussion maybe?
More
If we had
tangible
to-
consequences.
More tangible
Yeah.
stuff? Okay. What are some things, and help us brainstorm a little bit, what are some things that might be more relevant to sixth graders? I know it's been a while, so that's for me. Okay. Maybe that's
Sports
take some time to think about
Maybe
that.
like taking away like one of their
Taking away
trips, like you know how 8th grade has like a big trip. If you took
Yeah,
that
that's
away,
Okay.
that would make them think.
Because it's just more short-term stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you kind of
Getting
like thought
grounded.
about, yeah,
Blah, blah, blah.
if you kind of thought about like one person doing something wrong and like the whole group gets something taken away,
Okay.
we might debate that a little better.
Okay, gotcha. So, and back to the topic of truth versus loyalty, I think we addressed that's very important for high school students. Is that relevant for sixth graders and middle school students? Or do you think there's something better that might stick with that? Again, I'm having to get you guys to think back several years, I
Yeah.
know.
I think it's pretty relevant.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's just a question to ask yourself. What that would help us? What other kind of dilemmas would they face that might be helpful? So kind of the last, this is a really open-ended question, kind of the last question to have. As we build upon this first session, which I think went very well, I think we had a great discussion. I think turning around and trying to lead a group of sixth graders, I wouldn't do it. I'm impressed that you all volunteered to do that because that is a very difficult situation to be in. Leading those discussions takes a lot of practice, and I was impressed with what I heard. But as we build this program, what other things outside of these kind of discussions would you like to see, do you think would help? Small groups are on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great. How was it?
I think having a small group is good, maybe 7 or 8. I mean, because when you get a big group, you just kind of have those kids that just kind of sit back and listen, not really do
Yeah.
anything.
Or afterwards, because I love the small groups, but then maybe get a big group after that, hear different opinions from all the groups.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Maybe they could each like within their group like present what their like final reason was, like why they decided on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
like
like
that.
several small groups.
Hear the different dynamics and everything,
Okay.
that would also open our eyes if we didn't think of those ideas as well.
And that's a great point. That's something I've seen before. We have 3 or 4 groups talk independently, and we get them all back together and say, all right, what did you guys discuss? Because it kind of wraps all up. Again, it allows for the small group discussion, but it's still very, very open-ended. So anything else that you'd like to see improve? Would you do differently? That you liked, didn't like? This is your time to critique a little bit. What was good, what was not good?
I think the format of the sheet you gave us could have been a little bit better as far as like the order of the questions.
Other questions? Okay, that's right. That we discussed.
I
That.
got confused several times. I like kept asking like the same question as before,
Same.
and like, and then it went back. It was like, say this happened, no, say this happened, and then like that again. So
Okay.
it was like,
Okay.
I did like that though, the switching.
Yeah.
It went from best friend to the guy you don't
Yeah,
really
that was a
like.
good part.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Okay.
I think a good
They
idea
liked it too.
would to be meet with those groups like maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the year,
Okay.
instead of just one time, because then they could just forget about it.
Okay. So how often would you like to see these discussions each school year?
Like every
Beginning, middle, end.
Every few
every few months.
Yeah,
Okay.
because then especially if you have like a few high schoolers leading it, then you develop like a friendship, and they have someone to
Yeah.
look to, I guess, if you need.
Okay.
So if they have those problems, they could also come to us about that.
Mhm.
Okay. Great. Anything else? Well, thank you all again, and this was very helpful. I think it went very well the first time, and we're very excited about starting this program. But again, your feedback is always very, very helpful. So if you think of anything else in the coming weeks, we're meeting a lot over the summer to kind of build this program. Feed it up to whether it's Mr. Cook or Ms. Boshin or to me. Feed it up because this is really a great start to get going. So thank you all.
Thank you.